ตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะพุทธังธัมมังสังฆังนัมมัสสามิ We reached the last day of our retreat and the last day of the year. So it's an opportunity to contemplate endings. That which begins must end. All that arises must cease. It's the nature of the life we live. It's that it's made up of beginnings and endings all the time. Every day we're experiencing different moods, different experiences, pleasant, unpleasant. The world is changing. Day comes, day passes, night comes, night passes. Weather changes. It's part of our life. Perhaps because it's the last day of the retreat, already your mind is planning what next. It's the way of craving and clinging is always to be planning and wanting, expecting the next thing. So already your body is sitting here, but the mind is somewhere else. Later today, what you'll be doing. Tomorrow, next year. Once COVID's out of the way, then I'll get on with my life. It's the nature of craving. You're never satisfied, never content. Always wanting something or wanting to get rid of something. But you've wisely chosen to spend the end of your year doing a retreat, a meditation retreat. So it's like you're pressing the pause button on the video before you rush into the next thing with a mind full of craving. Just pause, take stock, consider exactly what's happening to you, what's going on in your mind, in your body, in the world around you. And this is so valuable, to be willing to pause, press the pause button, be patient, look, learn from your situation. That's partly what a meditation retreat is, isn't it? You pause all your other activities. Pause your work, family activities, all things to do with health, going to the doctor, travel. Everything goes on hold when you're on retreat. And it's such a valuable thing for us to see our own mind. But it's not easy because of craving. The mind tells you it wants something. Already you want to get up, go away, do something, talk to somebody. But at least we can see those movements of mind more clearly when we're on retreat, practicing mindfulness in all postures. And this is especially valuable this year because you're retreating at home. It's such a golden opportunity to see your home as a place where you can practice Dhamma. You can chant, sit meditation, even walk meditation in your own home. You just have to have that faith and commitment to make a plan and stick to it, and maybe tell everyone else around you what you're doing so they understand. And suddenly your home becomes what it should be, a place where you can do everything you want conveniently, so including the practice of meditation and Dhamma. It does take discipline, so you've had that discipline to keep the precepts and not let your mind or not to physically get involved in other activities during these few days. Again, just seeing that you can be disciplined, such a great thing. And you can reset, having paused, you then reset, press the reset button for your life. Make sure you're back on the Eightfold Path rather than falling into the ditch by the side of the path and getting muddy and caught up in the messes of life. You're re-establishing the right direction in your life, developing the practices of generosity, morality, mindfulness, wisdom. These qualities that we develop through our practice, one way of the Buddha referred to them is the powers, the spiritual powers, 5 spiritual powers. Conviction in Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, effort or energy, mindfulness, stillness or samadhi, and then wisdom. These 5 qualities you're cultivating, and you have been cultivating on this retreat, and you are cultivating right now. And these are powers, so they bring strength of mind up for you. When monks chant a blessing for the laity, and one of the things we wish you is strength of mind. Bala is the word in Pali. We are wishing you stronger, strengthened conviction, strengthened effort, strengthened mindfulness, strengthened stillness, strengthened wisdom. Because that's where our true strength as human beings comes from. So much of the time we're caught up in the external world, the material world, society, and so we usually think of somebody who's powerful as somebody who has a position in authority, or the head, the CEO of the business, the head of the faculty, the politician, the president, the king, the queen, the leader. They have the power, the authority, the influence. But as we know, that can sometimes be corrupting. If somebody hasn't got the wisdom, they can misuse power and exploit other people, follow their defilements, follow greed, follow anger. It's a rare thing to find a person with external power, worldly power, and to have wisdom to use it properly for the benefit of everyone. But normally that's the way we think of when we think of power. But the Buddha pointed out real power lies within, cultivating these qualities. It's interesting, one of the qualities the Buddha emphasized in the practice isn't immediately obvious there. It's the practice of khanti, patient endurance. It's a quality that Lumpur Cha emphasized over and over again in his teachings and the way he led both Sangha and laity in the practice when he was alive. And the Buddha pointed out, Khanti paramang tapotitika. Patient endurance is the supreme destroyer of mental defilements. So where does patience come into the powers, the strengths of the mind? Well, number one, you get a lot of patience from saddha, conviction. Your faith, your conviction in the Buddha, the awakening of the Buddha, the enlightenment of the Buddha, the power, the transformative power of the Dhamma, learning the Dhamma, practicing the Dhamma, the power of it to transform you as a person into a better person, more peaceful, more happy person. The power of the Sangha, having faith in that, following the good example of the Sangha and developing the same qualities as the enlightened Sangha. This kind of faith that we keep reinforcing through our practice and internalizing is a cause for patience to arise. You notice people with strong faith in the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, they're willing to put up with the hardships of the practice. They're willing to sit even though they have some pain or discomfort or the mind is not peaceful. They're willing to help others through difficulty and practice generosity in different ways. They're willing to keep the precepts out of faith in the Buddha even when they're feeling angry or greedy, upset. They're still willing to be patient and keep the precepts in different situations. And they're willing to keep putting effort into developing mindfulness, however difficult and stubborn their minds are. You get so much patience from having faith in Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. And over time that faith moves from being faith in the external, the enlightenment of the Buddha, the truth of the Dhamma, the good qualities of the Sangha. It moves internally into your own heart as you practice, because you're starting to see some of those qualities arise in your own heart. So you get more self-confidence and true conviction, belief that the practice works not just for other people but for you as well. Even one meditation retreat should be enough for you to be able to reflect back and see what you can do, how you can commit yourself to the practice, develop mindfulness, contemplate the Dhamma, understand things a bit better than before, feel more calm within yourself, have more clarity, and all of these good qualities you can take away with you from the retreat. But it will also give you faith in the practice, because you'll see it works. However difficult it's been, you'll have had some successes, some victories, some benefit in one way or another. So true faith is when your external faith in Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha merges with your own internal seeing of the Dhamma and confidence that Dhamma practice works. It helps us. And you get strength of mind from this, and from that strength of mind you get patience, willingness to put up with the difficulties. Ajahn Chah used to quote that phrase in northeast Thailand. They have the phrase, it's difficult to get good results when you just take the easy way. But when you're willing to put up with the difficulties, you get good results. There's no way around it. Training this human mind, body and mind, body, speech and mind, in the Buddhist path, it's going to bring up difficulties. And if you're just looking for quick results, easy results, invest a little bit of effort but get everything in return, you're always going to be disappointed. There's nobody who's progressed on the path of Dhamma who hasn't had to employ patience, endurance, put up with the mind that is not under their control, not doing what they want, put up with physical hardships and difficulties, and put up just with the difficulties of being a human being in the world. There's no one who hasn't done that, learned to be patient with these things. But the way of craving is we want it the easy way. Sit meditation once, understand it all. I know what the Buddha taught. Yeah, I know craving. I can let go of that. Ready to move on. What's next? And we'd love it to be the easy way like that. Expend the minimum effort and get everything, all the rewards, know everything that Buddha taught, understand it, can tell everyone else about it, and be fully enlightened from one meditation. But anyone who's practiced a bit will quickly discard that foolish kind of way of looking at practice. One needs patience. And patience is the supreme destroyer of defilements. So it's something that you need to keep returning to. You might say patient effort. I often say patient effort. You need to make effort in the practice, but with patience. Because one of the destroyers of effort, effort is a good quality. Making wholesome, skillful effort in the practice is a good quality. But one of the supreme destroyers of effort is craving, that says, I just want it easy. I want to lie in bed rather than get up and meditate. I want to eat rather than carry on meditating. I want to talk to somebody rather than just be mindful of my breath. This craving will take you on a merry dance, tell you all kinds of stories, sweet talk you into not practicing, into not being patient, into not making effort. So be on your guard. Craving is Mara. You've all seen the movies about the Buddha's life. The hordes of Mara come. Craving will come in every way, whether it's armies threatening, or beautiful ladies or handsome men to tempt you, or just the thought that you're getting old and maybe you just need to just rest and enjoy life and no need to practice anymore. It can be subtle, it can be coarse, but craving is Mara. It's an obstacle. And it will sweet talk you out of being patient with the difficulties. So we need to come back to that faith in the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, and consciously develop patience from that with our effort. So out of our faith and our patience with the difficulties, we gain effort and we make effort. This is the second power, the second strength of mind that the practice requires. It takes effort to sit, to pay attention to the breath, to contemplate, to develop wisdom. All of this takes effort. It is a training. Over and over again, the Buddha talked about it as a training. And especially the older you get, the thought of training, you start to go, oh, I'm not sure I want to train anymore. It's something young people do for sport or learning a musical instrument or some skill, But when you're older, it's like, training? No, I don't want to train anymore. I know what I have to do. But it's a constant training. It doesn't necessarily have to mean always exerting a lot of physical effort. It can mean that. We're talking about training of the mind in the path, training in dana, sila, bhavana. And you can train in dana, sila, bhavana from a hospital bed if you're ill. You're waiting surgery. Many people I've had to instruct when they're going for surgery or they're experiencing serious illness, and you can practice effort lying in a hospital bed. The effort to bring up mindfulness and let go of anxiety. The effort to bring up loving kindness. If you're going for surgery, always start with the doctor. Loving kindness for the doctor, the nurse, the team who are going to help you. Loving kindness for your loved ones, forgiving everyone. You can do that from a hospital bed with minimum energy. So effort is not simply a physical thing, it's a mental thing. The effort to be mindful of your breath. I've talked to people literally on their last day of their life, knowing they're going to die, but wanting to die in a Buddhist way with mindfulness, with a peaceful mind, just making the effort to watch their breath until they pass away. You can literally practice effort in that way, even though physically you may be very weak. Of course, good health, physical strength is a great benefit. We call it merit. It's merit to have good health. So it does help in the practice. But it's important to see the right effort can be made at any time, whatever state you're in. There's always the opportunity to practice right effort, to abandon negative mind states, cultivate the wholesome. And it's backed by faith and patience, patient effort in the practice. Be willing to sit even when you're sleepy. Many people we see, they're willing to work with their drowsiness to the point where they're woken up again by their own efforts, establishing mindfulness, letting go of the desire for the mind just to go into that dark, dull space. It takes effort, and that's a noble effort, and people do it. And maybe you've done it on this retreat. You've worked through some of your sleepiness, sitting, maybe getting up and walking, chanting, reflecting on Dhamma to brighten your mind and wake you up. Be willing to stick with the states of mind that arise. Maybe strong anger arises as you remember something that annoys you. It can be very mild irritations or extreme rage, but being patient with that and making effort to calm the mind, establish mindfulness, not give in to the anger, not let it affect your behavior at that time. requires patient effort. The Buddha, when he was talking about this quality of patience, efforts, he said, make your mind like the earth or the ocean or the air. He'd use very simple imagery, the four elements, because those four elements that exist in this world, we know them, we see them. They're so obviously patient in the sense they don't react like human beings do when they have unwholesome mental states. They don't get emotional, they don't get upset, they don't fall in love, they don't get attached. The earth is just the earth. Water is just water, air is just air, fire is just fire. These elements, in that sense, provide a very simple image of what we're aiming for, developing more mindfulness, clarity, wisdom, and then equanimity towards the difficulties that the obstacles of the practice bring, whether it's pain or distracted mental states, greed, anger, delusion. Imagine your mind to be like the earth. So you have an unpleasant thought arise, okay, it's unpleasant, but patiently you observe it, establish mindfulness, you put up with that feeling, that memory, that thought, and then let it go. And you keep working with developing effort until you can let it go. Like the earth doesn't complain. Just now we were cleaning up in the monasteries and the monks were throwing out the old flowers onto our bonfire. The bonfire, the earth that's there where the fireplace is, where the rubbish is thrown, it doesn't complain when you throw rubbish on it. It just quietly sits there providing benefit for you and provides a place where we can burn our rubbish. And that's like the mind of somebody with patience, effort, mindfulness, these powers, these strengths of mind. They can absorb both the unpleasant and the pleasant. So sometimes we put nice, beautiful things on the earth. Outside our hall here, we have a beautiful Buddha statue made of marble, made by an artisan in India and sent over here by boat to the monastery and put up there for us to recollect the Buddha. That's a very beautiful thing, beautifully carved marble Buddha statue. You see that and you think, oh, that's a good thing to make. You put it there, many people, it gives joy to many people, brings up very wholesome qualities of mind when you see the Buddha. The Buddha is just made from stone, another form of the earth element. So you can use the earth element to do something very good, or or have something very ugly on it, or something very beautiful on it. But the earth itself is unmoved, unwavering. It's equanimous, it's patient, it endures. This is the mind that has these strengths that we are cultivating in the practice to deal with the pleasant, unpleasant objects that come our way through our daily life. It's the same with the words of other people. How often our meditation is interrupted by remembering incidents where other people have criticized us, or insulted us, or manipulated us, or done something or other, said something that we remember, and it brings up fresh emotions, irritation, anger, ill will, sadness, disappointment, and so on. The words of other people stir us up as we remember them. If we're not mindful, they can make our whole meditation session miserable because we're just holding on to those memories. So make your mind more like the air. Like when there's no mindfulness, no wisdom, then the words of other people, it's like we're carving them in stone, and they get etched or carved into our consciousness so we can remember their words, those words of criticism, those words they shouldn't have said, and they've been carved into stone on our minds, so they're like just imprinted there for eternity. For 10 years you can remember that person, they said this and I don't like it and they shouldn't have said that, and they become your enemy for years and years and years because it's like the words have been carved into stone. So the Buddha said, lighten up a bit, see them as impermanent mental states, mental objects, or sense impressions. They were true, they happened, but they just arose and passed away. So it's more like seeing your mind as air. You write words in air. There's nothing there, is it? You can write your words in the air with a finger. Write a word like "I hate you" or "You are bad, you are wrong." You write it in air, and it disappears immediately. There's no trace left. It's like the mind of an arahant. Whatever you say, it doesn't leave a trace on the mind. Maybe somebody who's practicing well, it's sort of half-half, so maybe they're like water. You write words on the surface of water, and for a moment you can see the word. You write the word anger on the surface of a pool of water. Well, as you write A, you see the A, but then immediately it disappears. So it's there and it's gone. But if you have no mindfulness and no wisdom, it's like carving it in stone, and it's there over and over again for years and years and years. So don't let your mind be like that. So this practice, you're developing the qualities to allow your mind to let go. Our life is going to have a mixture of pleasant and unpleasant experiences, and we're not seeking the unpleasant, so we do what we can to minimize the unpleasant. But unpleasant things happen. People do say rude or hurtful things to us. So we have to learn how to deal with that. So establish the mindfulness, and even though it's painful, establish the mindfulness, the detached awareness, the equanimity to know it's just another sankhara arising, passing away. Since we've been born, people have scolded us, insulted us, been rude to us many times. It's all passed away, isn't it? It arose and it passed away. It can teach us something. Sometimes people criticize us because we make a mistake or do something wrong. Okay, we learn from that. No need to get angry, but there's no need to hold on to it. No need to carve it in stone in our mind and dwell on it and remember it and suffer with it over and over and over again. The mind of the meditator is strong. And when we say strong, it's not strong to go and have an argument or fight that person. It's strong in letting go. We have the faith, we have the effort, we have the patience, the endurance, we have the mindfulness. And with mindfulness and states of stillness arising, then we can see things clearly as they are. Wisdom will arise. And wisdom is a strength. In the Buddhist sense, a strong person is someone who can see sankharas, mental formations, as just sankharas. The words of other people are just words that you hear, and that they arise and then they pass away. If you're really strong, you can see that straight away. If you're sort of half strong, well, you'll hear the words, maybe feel a mood a bit for a while, be disappointed, angry, but then you let go because you know you're hurting yourself to hold on to those words. If you're a beginner, it's hard work. You hear the words and they fill your mind for a long time. But a strong person, just like a physically strong person, if you ever do weightlifting or lifting heavy objects, when you begin, you can only pick up something small because you're new. Your muscles are weak. But if you keep practicing, you can gradually train to pick up heavier weights. And human beings can pick up amazing heavy weights when they're well trained. Well, the mind is the same. If you train in this path, develop these internal strengths of mind, then you become wiser and mature, and you can let go of the words of other people, painful experiences, illness, unpleasant memories, disappointments. When you're hoping to do something and it doesn't happen. Everyone's got their plans for next year, but what coronavirus will do and how it will affect the world and society and governments, we don't know, do we? But we do know everything arises and ceases. So that's the strength of the practitioner, understanding that point, whatever comes our way. We know that coronavirus is not a good thing. It's something we all would like to get rid of. Maybe we can. Maybe one day the world will be rid of it. but not immediately, so we have to reflect on it with wisdom. Oh, coronavirus is another disease like anything else. Try to avoid receiving the infection if you've got it, or you go and get treatment, do your best. But it's uncontrollable, so we have to get a good attitude towards it, understand with these qualities we've been developing. You know? And coronavirus is just a small part of our life. Coronavirus disappears, you're still going to have other kinds of infectious disease around, old age, sickness and death, disappointments, things going wrong, mistakes being made, not getting what you want. This is why every morning we've been chanting that. And dukkha is being associated and united with what you don't like and being separated from what you do like. And just because there's coronavirus in the world doesn't change the truth. Whether there's coronavirus here or not, these truths still apply. We still have to experience not getting what we want, getting what we don't want, old age, sickness and death, disappointments, frustrations, sadness. It's still there. So how does the wise person respond? Well, we develop the path of practice that we have been doing. Practice generosity. You notice people who practice generosity, they can deal with and cope with the stresses of life quite well, because they're used to not only helping themselves but helping other people. They can see, they get a good perspective on life. They see, we're actually quite well off. If you can help someone else, it means you in a position where you're reasonably well off. You could help somebody with some information or some support, some kindness or some material support. And when you do that, you feel better and you realize, I've got enough for myself, I can also share with others. So that's a great way to start the new year. Practice generosity, determined to practice generosity, but also as a power, as an internal quality of mind, develop the mind of charity, the heart of generosity. And you'll find that's a strength. It comes again from faith, from effort, mindfulness, wisdom, but it will help you deal well and cope well with the ups and downs of life. People who practice generosity already know how to let go on one level. They're already becoming good, skilled at letting go, not letting the world's troubles bother them too much. On top of that, if you develop sila, the mindfulness and the effort to keep precepts, not kill, not steal, not commit acts of sexual misconduct, not to use false speech, abusive speech, and not to get drunk on drink or drugs. That simple determination and the effort and the mindfulness to follow those guidelines, again, makes your mind strong on the inside, makes you able to deal with whatever life comes your way, because you have self-control, you have some good values, moral values that help you, direct you in any situation to make wise choices, to avoid creating suffering for yourself or others. Learning to keep the precepts, it doesn't take away the troubles of the world externally, but it gives you some of the right qualities to deal with them. The kindness and compassion, the patience, the mindfulness, the wisdom to see that if we restrain ourselves from hurting others with our speech, with our actions, we're going to be at peace within, even if the world around us is not peaceful. Sometimes people come here and they say, the world is full of coronavirus, it's still here, it's coming back again, it's wave 2, second wave, third wave, what do we do? Same old message, just keep the 5 precepts, your best protection against illness. Or the other day someone was asking about spirits. Can spirits invade our body? Keep the 5 precepts. It will keep you out of trouble. The spirits won't be able to invade your body if you're keeping the 5 precepts. Your mind is clear, feels at ease, peaceful when you follow the precepts. You don't have any regrets. Meditation becomes easier. relations with other people become easier. Wisdom arises because your mind is clear and without agitation and regret, and then you can see the way things are. So dana and sila are our refuge in daily life. You leave the retreat. What do you do when you leave the retreat? You carry on practicing dana and sila, and these internal strengths are being reinforced by that, your skillful actions. The faith is reinforced as you practice dana, keep the precepts, because partly it's out of respect for the wisdom of the Buddha, you want to keep the precepts and follow the way of practice. Out of effort, out of your faith, you get effort, you get patience to keep practicing. And the most valuable thing is it provides this foundation for developing mindfulness and wisdom through the practice. It's something I think that Buddhists often overlook, the value of keeping precepts mindfully, with wisdom, with understanding, practicing generosity again with understanding, with wisdom, on a regular basis, on a daily basis. From what I've observed, you can't really not get wiser if you're keeping the precepts and practicing generosity. They are skills, so we learn how to do it better. We learn what the obstacles are and what the weaknesses are and where we can go wrong. But as basic guidelines for skillful living in the world, say for 2021, practice generosity, keep the precepts. Ajahn Chah used to say, if someone wants samadhi, they should just keep the 5 precepts and already they'll have a basis in samadhi. On meditation retreat, we're all frustrated because we want samadhi and the mind isn't calming down and the mindfulness is a bit patchy, mind is not peaceful yet. We want samadhi. Well, of course, it does take effort and practice as well, but really you already have a level of samadhi, otherwise you wouldn't be on retreat. And that has come not in small part through keeping the precepts. So keep returning to the practice of generosity and precepts. And these qualities are all maturing and developing together. And then when you have the time, well, keep practicing meditation. You've seen now that you can practice meditation quite well at home, and not just for 10 minutes or something, but continuously, through the day, for hours, sitting, walking, listening to the Dhamma, chanting. You've been through a retreat at home, so now you can use that perception. Oh, my home is a place I can meditate. I can devote myself to the practice at home. And keep bringing up that perception over and over again. When you lose your way and you think, oh, I can't meditate at home, it's too busy. It's not correct, is it? It's the attitude that's important. Seeing that it's valuable to meditate, you will deepen your practice of mindfulness, you will deepen your understanding of the Dhamma, so it's a valuable thing to do. My home can be a place where I practice because I've done it before. You can remember that, so then you dedicate yourself to further practice at home. Especially for the next period when we can't travel much, it will be difficult to go off onto retreat or visit a monastery. So maybe make your plan to do another retreat at home. You might say the expert level of this practice is being able to do a retreat at home without anyone else telling you to, without even having the facility of a Zoom or computer retreat where you've got teaching and other groups of people joining in. Maybe the real goal might be once in a while, see if you can do a day of retreat just entirely on your own, through your own faith in the Buddha, your own efforts, your own discipline, setting aside all the other activities just for one day, one night, committing to the precepts, committing to periods of sitting, walking meditation. You decide how long for each session. You decide if you're going to listen to Dhamma, you can still play a tape, a recording of a talk, or you could read a talk. You can chant for a shorter period. Some people say they don't like a lot of chanting, or just do a brief chant, or just bow to the Buddha. Or some people like chanting, get into the chanting, maybe do chanting longer than you would do on a retreat. So we've been chanting for 30 minutes, maybe chant for 1 hour. See what that does. You won't die. It's not the end of the world if you chant for a whole hour. And maybe at the end of it you feel quite refreshed and cleansed, putting all that effort into being mindful and chanting and reflecting on the Buddha Dhamma Sangha for a whole hour. Our teachers, Ajahn Chah, Luang Por Man, and many, many other teachers would chant. When they're alone in the forest, they've got time and they can just chant their hearts out, chant loudly, sit in the forest, when they're out camping in the forest, what we call tudong. Some monks are famous for this. Luang Por Chop was considered one of the monks who had the most well-developed psychic powers in the group of monks who lived with Luang Por Man. He became an enlightened teacher, and sometimes he would be chanting for 2 hours a night in the forest. And if any other monks were staying near him, sometimes they just like to come and sit near him while he was chanting and just meditate, because they said they'd just radiate in the glow of his kindness. And then they say devas would come to listen to him chant, so there was always a really good atmosphere around him when he was chanting. So you can develop that too. Make your home into a place where you chant regularly, and you learn to calm the mind, reflect on the Buddha, complete your chanting, and maybe other beings, if you have any other beings there, rather than trying to invade your body and take over and possess you and cause you trouble. Maybe they'll be calmed and they'll sit there listening to you and be happy and spread metta to you and be happy that you're chanting the words of the Buddha. And when we chant, it's a very clear way to clear out unwholesome mental states, whether it's fear, anxiety, distraction, desires. You can chant. That's one thing you can do. You can recite the word Buddho, which is a form of chanting, just reciting Buddho, or you can chant a whole chant and continuously. And meditators will do this sometimes when they are experiencing sleepiness or anger or worry or fear. They chant. When they are alone, if you are, you're doing your own retreat and you're lacking energy, well, determine to do 30 minutes or 1 hour of chanting, suttas, reflections, praise of the Buddha Dhamma Sangha. You might find it surprisingly uplifting and helpful in your practice. One monk, I remember, complained there's too much chanting in the monastery. Sometimes people don't like, and that's understandable. It's not for everyone. But he went to Ajahn Chah and said, I don't mind the meditation sessions, but all this chanting, I really don't like it. And Ajahn Chah just looked at him with his puzzled look and said, what's wrong with chanting? It's only a wholesome activity. You're only remembering the words of the Buddha Dhamma Sangha, chanting in praise of the Buddha Dhamma Sangha, recollecting the Dhamma, the truths that the Buddha taught, making yourself calm, mindful. It's a wholesome activity. What's the problem? Because often the people who complain, they would rather be sleeping, watching TV, eating. All the other things that are a distraction to their practice are probably quite often what you would rather do instead of chanting. Maybe it's a kind of going back to our childhood days when they said, do your homework, it's good for you. You've got to do your homework, do your tuition. It's the same sort of thing, isn't it? We do it grudgingly, but after a while we realize, it's quite good, and you get quite into it. It's not the only part of the practice, but particularly when you're on your own at home, it's a very helpful practice to do in the morning, in the evening. Some people will chant before they go out to work. And they go out with a wholesome state of mind. They feel energized, they feel almost protected. And that's one of the benefits of chanting. You feel good in yourself, you feel protected, you feel connected to the Buddha Dhamma Sangha. So you go off to work and all the challenges of the world, but at least you have the chanting behind you because you did that before you left home. Or before you go to bed at night, you chant, chant words of loving kindness, then you'll sleep very well. If you're having anxiety problems, depression, chant the Buddha's words on loving kindness every day. It will produce a nice, powerful, good energy. So these sort of practices you learn on retreat, even though you're at home, they can become part of your life. Meditation, chanting, generosity. We have to be creative sometimes, think of ways to practice at home during lockdown or just with the limitations of, say, the current situation, coronavirus. Then you have to be creative and see how you can incorporate the Dhamma into your daily life. Bring up the effort, have the patience to deal with the ups and downs of your own mind and dealing with other people. And the fruits of the practice are wisdom. Understanding how suffering arises in your mind, understanding what to do about it, how to let go of the craving, how to see craving and let it go. And they say one who has developed wisdom, they aren't easily disturbed by things. They don't easily become angry. They don't easily become greedy or selfish. They don't easily become confused or worried about things. You may still experience suffering, but it has to really, you have to really be pressured for it to come up. The ordinary practitioner is like this. They're learning to restrain body, speech and mind, be mindful and reflect with wisdom on suffering and its causes, and then letting go of those causes. That's our goal in the practice. And the more we do it, well, hopefully the better it gets and the better your experience of being a human being. So for now, I'll maybe just say this much, and we have a little bit of time left. We can carry on meditating together until we hear the sound of the bell.